Number 4, we find Katamari Damacy, developed and released on the PlayStation 2.
Katamari Damacy.
Katamari Damacy is the game that you've all seen, but very few of you have actually played because it's quite rare, and you can see the presentation screens at the beginning really beg the player to play the game. Katamari Damacy, what we have to do is to roll a ball around a landscape and pick up all the items which are dotted around it. And we start off with very small thumbtacks and pins and nails, and we slowly move up in scale, and we can only pick up the items that we are big enough to collect. So once the ball is at the size, then we can start to collect even larger items, and so let's make our way towards these cassette tapes and try to pick up all that we can. If the screen gets in the way of itself, we will see a symbol appearing on the screen, but you can see someone's left a Nintendo lying around, and so let's just get ourselves a few memory cards, and it's great to see all the little items that we can collect piling up in the inventory box. The game will even memorise all those items and give us a report at the end of each level on the items that we've collected, and the most items that we've collected, and the size of our ball. After every level, we are either given a star or some stardust or even a moon. Later on, we can develop various constellations by collecting crabs and fish and other things like twins. And there are also 10 main levels which start us off each time in a very different location, and most of those early on are different rooms of different houses, and what we have to do is to collect everything up, including the mice and the cats and the birds, moving up to even larger items like people later on. Move various locations, and sometimes we can even exit the house, but you can see we have to be a certain size before we can move on to the next location, and those are protected until we reach that size. And it's always great to expand our ball and to roll the biggest items and to roll around pets and crabs and even remote control cars, and each level has its own inhabitants and its own sound effects. Your Katamari gets even larger, it becomes even slower and harder to wield around the landscape, and you can see in this particular level I am actually too large for this landscape, and without breaking out of this house, unfortunately we are now too large to break out of it, and eventually the camera angles will give up trying to cope with that, and it will simply give us the house in general, and we'll have to just roll around within it. handy siren will beep when we run out of time and when we get down to the last few seconds, and that means that we have to collect all the last items. great fun to roll up everything that you can see and some weird items that you wouldn't normally find around lying on the street, including handcuffs and teddy bears and all kinds of pigeons and mice and rats and things that you wouldn't even imagine. And you'll only be able to get those once you are large enough, but it's great to roll into a new area and even break out onto the road. Every level also comes with its own music, and I've been known to listen to the soundtrack on its own because I think the soundtrack to this game is brilliant. It might sound cheesy to Western ears, and it certainly hasn't aged very well, but I think that this music is very fun and jolly and suits this game absolutely down to the ground. The game is truly open world, and you can collect these items in any order, and sometimes lampposts make things fairly difficult. You'll find police firing shots at you later on, and things that you wouldn't believe. But this game is incredible, and the more you play it, the more you'll get into it. And the more you get into it, the more fun it becomes until it's a laugh riot all the way through, and this game really has to be played to be believed. Once we can roll up people, we can roll up cars and then trees, and you can see on this later level we are actually rolling up a quarry. Perhaps the most fun is to roll up entire houses and the people as well. That's the Loch Ness Monster, and of course once we get this far in the game there isn't much which will stand in our way, and it's a great feeling to demolish an entire town. Later levels we will find huge objects like this oil tanker and huge islands and huge skyscrapers, which means our Katamari can get even higher in size. And this means that we can get a massive size going and even pinball action going on. And so I have infinite respect for this game. The more I play it, the more I have fun with it, and it's always fun to roll up things. You'll never see a line of cats the same way again without wanting to roll them up. And yes, Katamari 2, we love Katamari. It was released on the PlayStation 2, but I don't think Katamari 2 is quite as good as Katamari 1. It has various themes like the pond and the flower garden, which seems to be an extension of the game, but it really doesn't have the absolutely mint soundtrack, which is a mixture of jazz and, well, pop music, and it really doesn't have the same atmosphere as the original game, but it's still a tremendous game in its own right. If you haven't played Katamari Damacy, try it now. You will certainly have a great time. Number 3, we have Burnout, and in this case I'm splitting the vote between Burnout 1 and Burnout 3. For anyone who has not seen Burnout 1, then which planet have you been on for the last 20 years? Burnout 1 was a revolution in speed when it came out, and as you can see, even though there are only 4 cars on the track which you have to fight against, all the rest of the cars will get in our way, and we have to drive pedal to the absolute metal all of the time to get into first place. Always have a soft spot for the original Burnout, and that's why it made it into the 3rd spot, and it's those random factors and those fun elements in Burnout which makes me come back to this again and again and again. It's heart-pounding, heart-attack stuff, and sometimes you can get interjections and things like that. You can crash into other cars, things will crash into you, you'll get a great cutscene after that showing you how you crashed.
Your ears are open and you're listening. Thank you. It's Crash FM. So it turns out the alleyway off Roberts is proven to be the place to set up a takedown. Just put on a squeeze before you hit the L. For all your racing info, stay with Crash FM.
But the real contender at number 3 is Burnout 3 Takedown, which took the game level to an absolutely maniac design level, and this is the best and the pinnacle of the series as far as I'm concerned. Because not only have you got the speed mechanics from the first Burnout and Burnouts that we can do, which puts us into turbo mode, we get an amazing high resolution updated city as well, and we get some amazingly fast opponents, and some amazingly fast stunts and some amazingly fast action. If someone gets in your way, all you need to do is to boot them out of the way, and that's the race over, and for that you'll get a nice photograph and also a big load of boost as well. The level of boost in this game which gives it the Burnout feel, and this game really does take the Burnout formula to the highest level. I've played all of the Burnout games. I found Burnout 2 too easy, Burnout 4 too similar to this but not quite as good, and Burnout 5 again slightly in the same direction but not quite as good. This one has all the fun of the fair, all the greatest tracks, all the greatest opponents, the greatest soundtracks and all the best speed, and this game is simply fun on a stick. The soundtrack is memorable, and I even feel like that there is some kind of a storyline here, because when I'm playing this game I feel like one of the burners. I really love the DJ. He's really a favourite of everybody, but I think the DJ in my case makes the game feel like I'm one of the crowd and not an outsider, which I feel like most other times. And this game really includes players in the action, and it really takes the breath away when you get around the traffic in the highest speed. We can even run and crash out in various crash simulator tests where we have to blow up as much as possible, and after that then various bonuses will be handed out depending on the chaos that we've managed to amass during that manoeuvre. Only the speed which gives Burnout 3 praise in my book. It is the playability, the handling, and also the fun on offer. Yes, I have a massive smile on my face playing this, and when you just get to the line on time, it's a great feeling, and also when you win the race as well. And these graphics are amazing to behold, but you won't really get to be seeing those as you try to battle your way through all the other field, and sometimes the scenarios on offer feel pretty similar, and there are lots and lots of tracks to play through, and it's great when tracks are repeated because they feel familiar, and it means you can really hammer that foot down and try to get to that first position, which is never easy in any case. Like all the greatest games, Burnout gives the player a chance, and even if they are in first place, they will be attacked. And even if they are in third place, and if they make a massive mistake, that is not the end of the road, and it always gives the player some kind of response time to come back and take on those guys and try to beat them. In this case, I make a mistake and I actually miss the turning, thinking that I'm supposed to be turning right here, but I'm not.
It's tournament time. Race GP is about consistency. If you're consistently first, you got nothing to worry about.
This is how this particular level ended, and it's a real thrill ride that you cannot afford to miss. If you love driving games, you will absolutely adore this game. It is the pinnacle as far as I'm concerned, and it is the highest driving game on my list.
Burnout3.ea.com. Check it out.